What is this, really? It's no surprise I cried out like that. There was a termination notice. After all. Though I was told not to contact anyone while on a business trip, this was something I couldn't just ignore. I hurriedly called Matt. No answer. I kept calling, again and again. At the same time, I sent messages, but there was no response. It was past noon. Perhaps he couldn't answer due to work. But I had to get in touch somehow. After persistently calling, he finally answered. Hello, Matt. Didn't I tell you not to contact me during work? He snapped at me as soon as he answered. Sorry, but it's urgent. There's a registered letter from the company. I told you not to contact me while I'm on a business trip. Matt was completely unwilling to listen. What will you do if you ruin the contract because of you? It seemed he really wouldn't listen. Yes. I thought. I got a termination notice, but I'll keep quiet. As a result of not contacting at all. My name is Kristen Brown. I'm 30 years old. I work from home as an industrial designer. Simply put, an industrial designer designs the shapes of products. I used to work from home as an employee of a major company, but now I have gone independent and freelance. Thanks to that, work is going well, and I'm earning a good income. I married Matt, whom I met through a friend's introduction when I was 26. Even after getting married, I continued to work for the company, but when I got pregnant with my 2-year-old son, Nick, they allowed me to switch to working from home. From then on, I worked from home, and Matt worked at the company. I returned to work from home after maternity and parental leave, though my salary was a bit reduced compared to when I was commuting. Still, it was easier mentally and physically than commuting and leaving my child in daycare. Our company really created a good system. However, it seemed that Matt was dissatisfied with the decrease in my salary. Wouldn't it be better if you went to the office even if it means leaving Nick in daycare? We have a mortgage, and the company's performance isn't showing signs of improvement with the recent recession. That's true, but if we put Nick in daycare, we'd end up needing to pay for that, and when you calculate it, it would come out about the same. When we got married, we took out a joint mortgage, meaning we both paid the mortgage for our new home. Renting is like throwing money away. If you stretch a bit, buying will be easier in the long run. Matt works at a securities company and is somewhat knowledgeable about finance and assets. Persuaded by him, I agreed, and we bought a condo. It was near a station, convenient for commuting, and a bit expensive, but it was said to be a property that would continue to appreciate in value. Until then, our days were peaceful, but since I started working from home, Matt seemed increasingly discontent. It seems, more than the income issue, he felt it was unfair that only I was at home. If the money ends up being the same, then Kristen should also commute. Staying at home leads to a lack of exercise and becoming isolated from society, doesn't it? Indeed, there might be some truth to that. But after the first childbirth followed by the first childcare, it's easier on my body. It's hard to ask for help, as both Matt and I are from rural areas and our parents live far away. It's difficult to get help from either side. When I talked about such things, Matt muttered something that made me somewhat understand his true feelings. It's always you who gets it easy. I want to stay home too. Even if he says that, our jobs are different. I'm a designer, Matt is in sales. I finish designs on my computer, and often just sending the data is enough. But Matt's work can't be done from home. That's true, but it's still unfair that only you get to enjoy this nice house all to yourself. Hearing those words, I was shocked. What do you mean, all to myself? Isn't this house for you, me, and Nick? First of all, we're both paying the mortgage, so the rights should be split equally. Hearing such childish remarks from Matt, who is a father, made me feel more anxious. Nick is growing up healthy, and I managed to continue working smoothly while taking care of him. Then, I decided to go independent. My work was appreciated, and I started getting offers to handle more projects from business contacts. But around that time, Matt began coming home late and working on weekends more often. It's a recession now, I have to work harder, or my sales commission will just keep decreasing. After saying that, Matt sighed sarcastically. Must be nice, those who can work relaxed at home. No need to commute in packed trains, oh, how I envy that. It's as if he thinks I'm just relaxing at home while he's the only one working hard. But that's not the case. I'm doing childcare and housework at home, on top of my job. Although I have a lot of work that can be done from home, there are times I need to go out for work and other reasons. I'm certainly not just playing around at home. I couldn't take it anymore and confronted him about it. So, I'm not just playing around. Why can't you understand that? I'm paying my share of the mortgage, too. Oh, really? Matt interrupted me, his face turning red as he retorted. I guess I'm just a loser then. I can't even get a home mortgage by myself with my measly salary. No one is saying that. Unlike talented designers like you, I have to please unpleasant clients every day, or I won't get paid. No matter what I say, that's how it feels. He only takes everything in the worst way. I was completely exhausted and eventually stopped saying anything to Matt. I gave up because it seemed useless to say anything. Gradually, I started to wonder if there was any point in living together anymore. But Matt is Nick's father, and the thought of taking Nick's father away from him seemed selfish, so that feeling stopped me. Perhaps because I stopped speaking up, Matt began to behave more selfishly, and eventually, he hardly contributed any money at all. It was supposed to be a joint mortgage, but now it looks like I'm the only one paying it. It's tough, but honestly, with my current income, I could manage to pay the mortgage and live by myself. Matt probably knows this and behaves this way. If we were at risk of losing the house because we couldn't pay the mortgage, I think he would contribute something. Is Matt that calculating? And around that time, I began to suspect something. Maybe Matt has another woman, and he's spending his money on her. If that's the case, I'll have to make a drastic decision, of course, making sure he pays what he should. I wanted to gather some evidence, but couldn't think of how. The most reliable way would be a private investigator, but that's expensive. If I had specific dates or places, or knew who the other person was, it might be manageable, but with just a vague suspicion, I have no idea how much it might cost. I'm managing now, but if Matt and I were to separate, there would be financial uncertainties. I want to save as much money as possible. While I was feeling uneasy, a registered letter arrived from the company. Matt has been on a business trip since yesterday, gone for 3 days and 2 nights. On such a day, why would the company send something like this? I was even more troubled, but curious. I decided to open it. If it's an urgent matter, I have to contact you immediately, I reasoned as I opened the envelope. What is this, really? It's no surprise I cried out like that. There was a termination notice. After all, I was told not to contact anyone while on a business trip, but I couldn't just ignore this. I hurriedly called Matt. No answer. I kept calling, again and again. At the same time, I sent messages, but there was no response. It was past noon. Perhaps he couldn't answer due to work. But I had to get in touch somehow. After persistently calling, he finally answered. Hello, Matt. Didn't I tell you not to contact me during work? He snapped at me as soon as he answered. Sorry, but it's urgent. There's a registered letter from the company. I told you not to contact me while I'm on a business trip. Matt was completely unwilling to listen. What will you do if you ruin the contract because of you? As he spoke on the phone, I could hear someone else's voice. Perhaps. I quickly pressed the record button. Listen, I'll say it again. Do not contact me. Understand? Despite saying it was important, he just wouldn't listen. Yes. I thought. I got a termination notice, but I'll keep quiet. I then hung up the phone. I had told him it was important, but Matt didn't listen. Moreover, it seemed like it wouldn't really affect him even if he lost his job at the company. I was a designer by profession and had been steadily building my portfolio. When I started working from home, I was an employee. As an employee, I had to report daily to the company how many hours I worked and such. I also needed to inform them when taking time off. However, now I was independent, handling not only my former company's projects but also those of other clients. In other words, I am completely freelance. Since becoming freelance, I had taken on many more jobs, earning several times what I did as an employee. I could afford to leave Matt, and it wouldn't be a problem. But it still felt frustrating to end things this way. The voice on the phone just now was probably a woman's. I carefully listened to the recording and could vaguely make out what was being said. The other person, unaware that I was calling, was coaxing Matt. I couldn't hear the name of the item, but she was asking him to buy something for her birthday. Probably, her birthday was coming up soon. This might give me a clue to track down Matt's partner. If I could narrow it down a bit more, I would hire a detective. For now, I just had to wait a little longer. The next night, Matt returned from his business trip. "Didn't I tell you not to contact me during work? You almost ruined a contract because of that." "I'm sorry." What contract was he in the middle of signing, and with whom? Perhaps a birthday purchase agreement? I kept a straight face, but laughed inside. "If you understand, then that's fine. I'm going to take a bath and go to bed." "Yes." I quietly let Matt prepare for bed and take his bath. Once he was sound asleep, I stealthily checked his smartphone. As expected, it was locked. I gently held the smartphone, applied Matt's sleeping finger to it, and unlocked it. What I found was revealing. Photos of Matt getting cozy with the same woman. Not just photos, but videos too. Some of them were conclusive evidence. Besides the messages, it was clear when and how the two spent time together. Maybe Matt thought I would never notice his affair. He really took me for a fool. I copied the data from Matt's smartphone to my computer. I quietly put the smartphone back where I found it and began to slowly plan my next moves. I'm going to make him suffer for sure. First, I'll uncover the identity of this woman. Just from the pictures and nicknames, it's unclear who she is exactly. I'll start by checking the data. The next day, Matt left the house as if nothing had happened, heading to the company. I hope he can work as usual. After seeing Matt off, I took my time to reread the registered letter. It didn't provide detailed explanations. It's unclear what happened, but it seems the termination is definite. This is a bit troubling. If Matt loses his job, it will be harder to get compensation or child support from him. You can't squeeze blood from a stone. The money he hasn't been bringing home has probably been spent on that woman. I want to recover as much as I can. Of course, I will also make the other woman pay for compensation. Now, I'll scrutinize the data I transferred to my computer. It was unpleasant to see their flirtatious exchanges, but there must be some clues there. I remembered that SNS user registration required a phone number. I found it. A contact saved as Anderson Products. In Matt's phone book, apparently a business contact turned out to be the affair partner. Whether it's her real name or not, she goes by the name Jessica. I picked out the necessary information and compiled the data. Now, what to do with this data? Should I hire a detective, or should I take it straight to a lawyer? While I was thinking, an idea struck me. Something I saw in a melodramatic drama, I decided to do it too. You know, I think I'm going to go back to my parents' house for a bit. Why? It's nothing serious, but my mom has worsened her cold and is bedridden, and my dad can't manage everything at home alone. Matt glanced at me briefly and pretended to think. He probably thought it better to make a show of reluctance. Can't be helped. How many days are you planning to be away? At least 2 or 3 days. I looked up at Matt slightly from below, gauging his reaction. Looking down at me, Matt seemed to like my timid attitude and smiled a little. Well, that's being filial. Go ahead. Thank you so much. I expressed my thanks politely. My attitude seemed to please Matt. So, when are you leaving? I wanted to leave today, but it's already late, so I'll go first thing tomorrow morning. I'll leave right after you go to work. I see, understood. Take care on your way. Matt was unervingly kind. This should, hopefully, make him act as I anticipated. The next morning, Matt left the house as usual. He's been told he's fired, yet it's mysterious where he's going. But I need him to leave the house at least once so I can prepare. I sent Matt off with a look of regret, then got started on my preparations. Nick is with a reliable babysitter. I've entrusted him to her several times before for work or errands, so I can leave him with her confidently. Then I sent a message to Matt. I'm on the train now. Really sorry for the inconvenience, I'm planning to be there for 3 days. Matt replied immediately. Understood, take care. That night, just as I expected, Matt brought Jessica to our home. I hired a professional to capture the whole scenario as evidence. I knew that the data originally on Matt's smartphone was enough to give me an advantage in the divorce, but I really wanted to punish them both. On the first day of setting the trap, Matt returned home with Jessica in the afternoon, and they didn't leave until the evening of the next day. And that night was the main event. I was a bit anxious waiting since I didn't know what time they would return, but I was sure they would. Late that night, just before the date changed, they returned. They seemed to have been drinking and giggled their way into the bedroom, where they collapsed onto the bed, entwined. Now. Welcome home. As I finished shouting, I slammed open the closet door with a bang. Jessica screamed and rolled off the bed. She hit her head on the cabinet next to the bed in her fall. Serves her right. Wah, wah, wah. Matt didn't fall, but was frozen in an odd position on the bed. He was facing up, pushing his hands forward from his chest. Apparently, he was so startled by my appearance that he accidentally pushed Jessica away. That's why she flew off and hit her head. Welcome home, dear. Matt just stared at me with his eyes wide open, stuck in his ridiculous pose. Really, he looked quite foolish. Oh, we have a guest, I see. I slowly stepped out of the closet and stood beside the bed, looking down at Matt with a broad smile. The unconscious woman was of no concern to me. You. Who is this person, really? It's quite rude to sleep in someone else's home like this. Matt couldn't say a word. Well, let's have a little chat. I took out my smartphone and contacted someone. Who did you contact? Oh. Just someone. I hummed a tune as I ended the call and looked coldly down at Jessica. What shall we do with her? Wah, what do you mean? Wake her up? Or let her sleep? Matt looked back and forth between Kristen and me, silent and perplexed. Well, it might be troublesome if something happens, so let's wake her up. Hey, you. I shook her gently, and Jessica groaned as she woke up. Hey, you. Even as I spoke to her, Jessica looked dazed for a moment but eventually realized what was happening and froze. We're going to have a talk now, so come join us over here. Jessica remained frozen and didn't respond. Come here, please. Yes. She reflexively responded when I spoke a bit more forcefully. I called them both to the dining table and had them sit down. I really didn't want to have you sit here, but well, you've already used quite a bit here, so the table will do. Of course, I won't be serving any coffee. Please answer what I'm about to ask you. If you answer honestly, I might consider being more lenient. What do you mean by more lenient? Perhaps reducing the compensation. Hearing the word compensation, both of their faces turned pale. So, when did it start? What? When did the two of you start this relationship? If you don't answer honestly, I'll double the compensation. Matt's eyes darted around. Jessica blinked excessively. Since when? Today. Today was the first time. Right? Yes. Yes, that's a lie. Really? Yeah. Today, we met for the first time and, you weren't here, and in a moment of madness, we just. Yes, yes. It seemed they had decided to stick to that story. Yeah, that's a lie. What? Ding dong. The people I called have arrived. I let Matt and Jessica wait and asked the newcomers to enter the dining room. A man and a woman in suits walked in. Please, go ahead. At my request, the woman pulled out a tea envelope and the man opened a laptop. Here you go. The screen showed Matt and Jessica from yesterday. They entered the room together, and the video continued with more footage inside. Hey, isn't this illegal filming? That's right, it's a crime. The two started making a fuss, but the detective explained properly. Indeed, filming someone secretly is illegal. However, if it's for catching evidence of infidelity, it's allowed. Moreover, this is done by professionals, that is, by the detective agency as part of their job. Therefore, it doesn't count as an illegal act. Got it? So this is not a crime. Both were silent, looking down. Now, let me ask again. When did it start? They didn't answer. Since when? You said today was the first time, but that's a lie, isn't it? Well, yesterday. As he said that, he looked up and met my eyes. I'm sorry. What I said earlier, actually, it was yesterday. We drank too much, and one thing led to another. Yes, sorry. Both of them said that and apologized. So, you admit to the affair then? Yes, I'm sorry. But it was just once. I'm sorry. It's true. They seem to be coordinating their story this time. Like I said before, if it's a lie, the compensation doubles, okay? It's not a lie. Believe me. It's true. I brought my laptop in front of them this time. First time yesterday, then who are these people? Displayed on the screen were photos and videos copied from Matt's smartphone, as well as their SNS exchanges. Yep, another lie. You went through my phone without permission. That's a crime. Too bad, this isn't a crime either. Remember why I told you earlier? They sat silently, unable to say anything more, and resignedly told the whole story. Their relationship started 2 years ago, around the time Nick was born. Matt began talking about how lonely he felt when I started paying less attention to him after our child was born. During that time, he met Jessica, and they continued their relationship until now. It was just a momentary lapse, he was remorseful. He rambled on about this. Jessica looked at Matt with disbelief. It made sense. After being fed sweet nothings for so long, now she was just a fling, an afterthought. Jessica had tears in her eyes out of frustration but admitted when their relationship started and then kept silent about the rest. It seemed pointless to ask anything more at this point. We will set another day to discuss this with Jessica's parents and Matt's parents, both. I thanked the detectives and sent them home, and told Jessica to leave as well. Could you leave too? Maybe stay in a hotel or somewhere. You might catch up with Jessica now? I wouldn't do that. Well, it doesn't matter either way. Just leave. I also kicked Matt out. Later, I called both our parents to discuss the situation. My in-laws were embarrassed and just kept apologizing. My parents were silently furious. I showed all the evidence to our parents, including the confrontation from that day. So, I want a divorce. I'll take custody of Nick and I'm requesting child support and compensation. Matt protested the amount I suggested, but I had no intention of compromising. You've deceived me for 2 years, brought another woman into this house, and stopped contributing financially. My in-laws were shocked to hear this for the first time, and my father-in-law tried to hit Matt, but I stopped him. I don't want to see that, so if you're going to do it, please do it where I can't see. My in-laws agreed to cover the compensation and child support up front. We decided that Matt would take over the condo. I would be paid for my share of the mortgage, and then he could do as he liked with it. I don't want to live in a tainted home. Once you've paid me, you can do whatever you like with it. It'll probably end up being sold. Even if it's sold now, it will only result in a loss. Matt doesn't have the means to keep paying the mortgage, unfortunately. The reason Matt was fired from his company came to light. He had caused significant losses to a client. Not just once, but multiple times. I thought it was a sure bet. All the trades I thought were winners turned out badly. Matt said he became envious after I became freelance and started earning more. Doing what shouldn't be done to get back at someone, like trading stocks without client permission and causing them losses, was what happened. As he tried to cover up one mistake with another, the situation grew beyond his control. Yet, he couldn't stop because he believed that he could eventually make it right. Unaware that the company had caught on, he distracted himself by meeting with Jessica. That day too, he lied about taking a sick day to care for me when I was unwell. Who would think to send a termination notice to a house where there's a sick person? That's just unthinkable. Which is more unthinkable? Saying such things when he's the one lying about being sick to go on a trip with another woman seems unbelievable. Here's why he cheated. Ever since Nick was born, you stopped paying attention to me. That's to be expected. When there's a baby, everything else comes second. I can't cater to an adult like a child. When I come home, I'm too busy taking care of Nick, and it's not fun. I met Jessica at a girls' bar where I was taken on an invite. Jessica was young and cute, and she listened to everything I said with interest. I regained the confidence I had lost. When they met, Jessica was just 19, and they became close after celebrating her 20th birthday. I bought Jessica anything she wanted. It was cute how she depended on me. Kristen, you earn enough on your own to buy whatever you want, so you never ask for anything like that. To fulfill Jessica's desires, he stopped contributing financially at home. The condo has always been where Kristen stays, and I just sleep there. So I thought it's only right that Kristen should pay for it. I remember him saying something like that. If Kristen went back to working in an office, she wouldn't be home any more than me. I thought that would be fair. So that's why he suggested I stop working from home and commute instead. It's truly exasperating. No matter how I listen to the excuses Matt comes up with next, I can't find any reasonable ones. But Matt blames everything on me. If only Kristen had continued working like before and supported me, none of this would have happened. Hearing this, even my father-in-law broke down in tears. It's really pathetic. But I have nothing to do with that anymore. Just because they paid the money I demanded doesn't mean my wounds are healed or that I can forgive them. However, they agreed to pay both the compensation and child support I requested. I guess that will have to do. I filed a separate claim for compensation against Jessica. Fortunately, her parents were decent people and covered everything for her. I had said I'd double the fine if they lied, but I decided against it. I have some common sense. We settled it within those bounds. I'm sorry. Jessica appeared in front of me with her parents, completely different from the drunken Jessica I had known. She honestly talked about her past. Jessica came from the countryside and was shocked by the differences in the city. Her classmates at university were all fashionable and flashy, seeming to sparkle. She tried to keep up by working at a girls' bar. I met Matt there, and he told me his marriage wasn't going well and he'd soon be divorced. It's just taking time because of the child. I believed him. It seemed Jessica genuinely loved Matt. Matt looked so handsome, and since he had a good salary, he bought me anything I asked for. I was happy that he listened to everything I said. That day, with me not around, Matt brought Jessica over, suggesting they could soon live together in this house to save on hotel costs. Jessica believed that and followed him. I thought we would soon be living together here, and I was so happy. But then, Mr. Matt treated me just like a fleeting whim. Jessica said this with tears in her eyes. That's when I woke up. I realized I was just being played. She did not appear to be lying at all. But I won't say I was deceived. I knew he was married and still got involved. It's my responsibility. I'm sorry. She said this as she apologized to her parents. The true extent is unknown. Perhaps Matt did genuinely like Jessica at some point. But in the end, he chose self-preservation. It just goes to show that his understanding was only superficial. Someone who acts selfishly for such reasons, needing to be coddled and upheld like a child even by his spouse, Jessica is better off forgetting such a man. Jessica has quit university and plans to return to the countryside with her parents to start over. I intend to work and pay back what my parents fronted as soon as possible. Saying this, she apologized politely until the very end as she left. Once an object of my disdain, now, I hope this young woman moves straight ahead in her life and finds happiness. Matt was later fired from his company, unable to pay for the damages he caused, and was sued. It was inevitable. He lied to take time off work and was caught spending time with Jessica, facing charges of embezzlement. Not only did he cause losses to his clients, but he also used that money for leisure, which led to his judgment. Although he received a suspended sentence, he was found guilty, and his future is uncertain. I feel sorry for my decent in-laws, but it was a natural consequence. I have returned home, and while my parents look after Nick, I continue to work. Despite the personal challenges, my career is going well. Now, Nick's growth is my solace. I think I don't need a man for a while. But as Jessica returns to the countryside, I hope she meets someone truly trustworthy, and I hope to encounter someone good in my life too. Life is still long. It's too long to stumble and give up after just one setback. And I want to show Nick how to walk forward, not to become someone who loses everything by being overly dependent like his father. To ensure that, I will continue to walk forward, head held high, never giving up on happiness.